Tēnā koe, Crystal, thank you for that. Tēnā koutou raurangatira mā, ko tai mai nei ki te kaupapa nei. Tēnā koe mātua hāmi, Chad, mō kōrua, karakia JB, Ruth and Crystal, hini koutou mā, te tari, tēnā koutou mō koutou tautoko, and nā kai kōrero mō tēnei rā. Nā mihi nunui mō koutou tautoko ki te iwi. Tēnā koe Kahungunu. And it's not even up. Kia ora. So, I'm honoured. Kahungunu tai ao me ōna rawa. That's my mahi, that's my job, working for the iwi, and I'm honoured with that responsibility. So, I want to talk a little bit about what we do today, provide a bit of context and background, some of the challenges, some of the responses and relationships. I'll probably miss out stuff, but I've got a whole lot of slides, so I'm just going to crack into it. So I thought I'll set a bit of a context on where our population is spread. So this is based on our registration database. So Kahungunu's 62,000 strong according to the census, but I think it's more like 65,000 plus, because I'm sure we've got thousands of Kahungunu over in Australia and all around the motu around the world. And you'll see that according to our registration, there's a lot of Kahungunu affiliate to Heretaunga and Wairoa. If you do it on the census stats, I think the Wairoa population goes up a bit more, but it gets a bit messy because there's different reporting now with Rākai, Pāka, Pāhu, Wera, and Rongamai Wahine, so there's a bit of a double count there. So I used the registration population, so third largest iwi in the motu, second largest geographical area, and second largest coastline. Okay, so I thought, what are we talking about? What's at risk? What's under pressure? We've seen some lovely photos today, and I've got a bunch of photos, so because it's late in the day, and I thought you guys would be getting bored. From the mountains, this is our pristine environment, and we own a lot of these hill country blocks. They're under trusts because they weren't attractive to a lot of settlers in the Crown when our land was alienated. So we actually do a lot by preserving our waterways, by keeping a lot of our ngahere in its natural state, and we have this pristine environment. This is the top end of the Ngariroro, and the water blocks. We also wetlands. We've lost majority of our wetlands, and we have something like 2% left in Hawke's Bay. So this is actually a wetland by Waitangi, Waikahu, that I'll talk about later. And of course our life, and our kai. And that's our connection, and that's why we're kaitiaki in these waterways. Our springs and our lowland streams, so heavily modified, and these puna and these springs fed a lot of our lowland streams, particularly around Heretaunga. I haven't got a picture of the aquifer, so I sort of use this as a proxy. That's the Raupare. It's a spring-fed lowland stream. It's beautiful, beautiful water, and I take my kids down there often. They call it a drain, and that's the terminology that's used. And if you call it like that, it's treated less. And we're having these ongoing conversations with people who manage these waterways that it's not a drain. It's not a drain to us because it gets treated differently. But this one here is full of everything. Mahinga kai for koura, black flounder, eels, trout. They swim into the hinaki too. All kinds of kai, watercress, but then they sort of mow the watercress. So straight from the aquifer. And our river mouths. This is the Tukituki river mouth. So this kinds of gets left out to an extent in our land catchment-based planning and management, because it's at the end, it's the receiving environment, and a lot of things can go wrong at that point, and it's a really important space for our species, our spawning, the nutrients, but it was treated as a bit of a dumping ground in the past. And of course the moana, our kai moana, our pawa that distinguishes us, and it's a special taonga to Ngāti Kahungunu. So yeah, right after the moana, ki tai, Kahungunu ki tai. Plain sailing. Not quite. So, however, I'm going to skip through the next parts because I think a lot of people have set the scene in the context of what we're talking about, you know, what are our challenges, so our threatened species, our eels, everything, our flora and fauna. So I forgot to mention, kia ora to, I'm part of the Hawke's Bay Biodiversity, so kia ora te kei coming along there. Sedimentation, this is the Ngaio Chester Hope Bridge. Altered waterway, this is where they re-diverted the river, and that's in its full glory. I've circled that because prior to this flood, there was a whole bunch of sand and sediment dug up and dumped along the river, and I sent the photo to the council and said, hey, is your works group or your engineers not talking to one side? Because that looks like a risk. If there's going to be a flood, that's all going to wash in the river. And that's what happened. So when one side we're having a discussion with stakeholders for 6 years about reducing sediment, and then one side of the council is setting up a big risk. Over-allocation of water. So this is a reality, and it's more of a reality here on the east coast of the country for Kahungunu than it is for other parts of the country. The scarcity and demands for water. And surface and ground, what we can't see. So this is the Paritua stream in the Kāre where there were serious problems. It's connected to the groundwater and it's connected, well, they am from Hawke's Bay, but you get the picture. Irrigation, the demands, bottling. Yeah, those crop circles aren't here, but yeah, that's what I could find. Other challenges, PAMPAC, right, we've been in Environment Court mediation alongside our hapu, Ngāti Pāro, Maunga Haruru, and it's awesome to be in these discussions alongside each other and collaborating and sharing that journey and basically that rarurau. We're having these debates, right, and it seems silly. We need to have somewhere better. This puts out 15 million cubic, they have consent for 15 million, I think my battery just went flat, cubic litres of toxic stuff a year. Yeah, you'll have to drive this because that might be our tohu. PAMPAC stopped putting it out there. So that's still going through the process. That was a bit of a struggle, and yeah, I'd like to acknowledge those hapu groups have actually been leading that charge and just do what we can do to support and tautoko. Okay, yep, that's the discharge. The port. So the port have undertaken a consent or applied for a consent to dredge out part of the port to allow bigger ships, and that's where that kind of blue line, all that blue stuff there, oh, doesn't show, and they were going to dump, go back one please, they were going to dump, this is where the disposal field of the sediment. So we're involved in all the hapu, and I'd like to acknowledge Te Kaha, who's been doing a sterling effort for the port and involving marae representatives and other representatives around to have a discussion about that and developing a cultural monitoring program, because this is alongside, well, it's not only the more important for us, and according to experienced fishermen, it's a nursery for our flounder and our flatfish, but those red circles is Pānia Reef. Next slide. And that's a picture, it's not very good quality, but it's a 3D picture of Pānia. And Shade printed off way better quality pictures that are up on the desk at the front there. So if you would like those, please help yourself. Next slide. Sewage Outfalls. So that's one of there's two of them, Hastings and Napier. And then, of course, there's all the sewage that comes down our rivers. So 3 major rivers coming out of the bay and all along coastline. It's one of those problems. Sewage, we create it, and perhaps some of the treatment is not per artikanga. Seabed Mining, that's a Chatham rise, terrible quality, but it's just, another subject that can have, it's quite far away, it's between the Chathams and Christchurch, but these can have impacts on our coastlines and on our fisheries. So we have to get involved. But we tautoko groups like Ngāi Tahu in that instance, and they spent over millions fighting that. We just wrote a submission and sent Ngaio. This self-explanatory, petroleum. It's a huge take, and I'm glad to report our position in regards to petroleum. So these are some of our position statements. I've played these last year. They were just running in the background, and these aren't new. They're old. Yep. Oh, so water. Ngāti Kahungunu, we've never relinquished our rights and interests to water, and that's been clear. We have a Waitangi Tribunal claim to that effect, and we're party to the Māori Council's claim for water. So that went through its second readings with the Waitangi Tribunal, and we're waiting for that second report to come back. There's also in tandem work with the government, previously national, which didn't really get far, to be honest. They weren't answering the hard question about our rights and interests, and I'm not sure, to be honest, with whether this government will do any different. There's a big consultation documents about shared interests in water, and I forget the other name of the document, but they're huge. A lot of discussion on what's our role in water and engaging Māori. Flora and fauna, Y262, I think a lot of you will be familiar with this. This is, it's a big claim. It's the mother of all claims. It's about our intellectual property rights. It's about our, our taonga, our birds, all our life, plants, and genetic engineering free. So this is part of our 25-year vision, and I'm pleased to say that with the Hastings District Council plan, which was for consultation, we submitted on that, and we worked with others to ensure that Hastings is now the first district in the country where genetic field trials are banned. So yeah, homai te paki. Although we want some consistency, Hastings is one, and we want to see that consistent across the rest of Kahungunu. Our policy was not just field trials, but in the first instance, that's the gains were made. And I think I missed one about petroleum. Goes without saying. So I think there was a couple of years ago, our board finally came to an agreement, and that's a difficulty. Working for Kahungunu, there's a lot of interest to consider, and not everyone thinks the same. But in terms of petroleum, and if you go back to the slide I had, it's undeniable, the risks, and the potential benefits just do not outweigh the risks. So, haere objectives and values. I mean, they're not new. It goes without saying. Mahinga kai, our practices, access and use. We keep sharing this whakaaro, these objectives, these wawata. We keep sharing this and keep talking about it. Next slide. Oh, repatriation and restoration. Getting our people involved, like some of our kōrero we've had today with the māramataka, about getting out in an environment and why are we kaitiaki? Why are we tangata whenua? Why are we mana whenua? And what's the responsibility with that? And what's the obligations? And what do we want? See, that water that I showed you before where there's no water, the stream bed, that's the same one. It's the same one. This does not always happen. So you can see when there is water, you see what happens. They can be part of their waterway. So for some, we can't even be part of our environment. We can't even do the practices that we used to do because the kai in there doesn't look appealing. I know with one of Māre's wānanga, when they went to Te Hauke and they looked at the stream out the back, and Uncle Jerry said, oh, that's where I got baptised. Everyone looked at him like he was joking. You really got baptised in that stream? So we mustn't forget about our little tributaries and our little streams, not just the big Ngarirora Tūtakuri, but for us that includes all of that. Well, it does to me. I'm more comfortable about sending my kids into the little tributaries and the streams like Raupare than into the Ngarirora, like that big flood there. You've got to start off somewhere. And they're all connected. We can't reduce them and separate them apart. So, and yeah, kai. So all the tangas, tinana, hinengaro, wairua, whānau, I mean, there's a lot more behind it than just preserving it for the sake of preservation. Yeah, this is where the kōrero and the pūrākau happens when we're together in those practices, and this is how we have that regard and protection for the environment, because we're there, we're part of it. So advocacy, yep, that's basically, in one word, the role of a iwi and my role. I had to Google what does that actually mean, because I know a child asked me what it is, and I was floundering to try and explain. All those plans, they help set out what we're actually talking about, they help guide us. But unless you advocate for the content of those plans, they don't move to implementation. So it's good to have an idea on where we're going, and I'll get to that a bit later. So yeah, plans for Africa, ignored as well. So on eels, there was a question about, we just submitted to Ministry of Primary Industries, and this is a response. We just don't submit out the blue. They have special timing. Oh, tell me what you think about this. Well, by this date. So, yeah, moratorium. We called for a moratorium on eeling. We don't fish our eel quota, Kahungunu, but somebody does fish it. That's the problem. So we asked for a moratorium, and we know that sentiment has been raised across Kahungunu by others. Crayfish, like what Jonathan talked about that, yet we said no decrease in the commercial catch in Mahia and no increase in Wairarapa. We caused a bit of a fracas and issue around that. I was getting lobbied by a whole bunch of people to change our mind. Thankfully, we changed their mind. I said, no, it's our coastline. And, you know, if you have seen Rawiri's picture of the ere, and ocean temperature rising, the climate change, there's a whole lot of risks coming to this species, and there's been significant increase in the surface temperature. So we don't know what that might mean, but we have an idea with people like Emir, and so that must be a tohu who come across her kōrero just before this submission round. So we can use, you know, our maramataka, no increase. And like JD said, that cost them 250,000. Kia ora. Another submission, Tūtakuri, Ahuriri, Gariro, Karumu. These catchments, very important. They've grouped them and called them tank. To the majority of you, that may mean nothing, and I don't blame you. I'll put Heratonga Aquifer because that's very important, and I think they should have called it thank, maybe. Say thank you to the water. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ngātai supported that, so I thought, yep, that's good. So you can see those slides, we'll get into the boring part, maybe go back one. There's a whole lot of waterways. That's like 4 major ones all lumped together. On the outset, I said, this is too many. This is too many whānau, too many marae, too many people involved, too many interests, too many significant sites. But yes, that was 7 years ago, or 6, 7 years ago. Let's go to the next slide. Sorry, this is the boring part. Black and white, getting down. What was in their plan? So this is my sort of gripes. This is giving it to you in a nutshell. Remembering this is years and years of discussions, thousands of pages, all kinds of scientists. You're talking to ecologists, hydrologists, planners, lawyers, and you got those are all the science. Then you got all the stakeholders, the horticulture, the dairy, the wine growers, fish and game, forest and bird, you name it. So try to summarise draft council plan for tank, and this can actually apply across regional council. And apologies to the other areas of Kahungunu, but it might be similar. Promotes industry self-regulation and voluntary compliance. So for bottom line, that's something I think we want changed, and that's what I've been advocating for. We can't rely on self-regulation. Tangata whenua invited to, oh, go back, oh, you just spoiled it. Tangata whenua invited to FGC. Okay, if any of you whānau here are connected to your whānau, you should know what a FGC is, but I've called it a farmers group conference. So if you've got problems, just come and talk to me at a farmers group conference and cross your fingers. It might get resolved. Security of water for irrigation first and foremost. That's the reality. most of the discussion, 80% of it is the dollars. What's that risk? If we say we want a better outcome for our environment, it's going to cost someone dollars. And they tell us it's going to cost our jobs. Ignoring over-allocation of water. This is well documented. You know, no one wants to admit it. When you admit there's an over-allocation, or if you manage it, then there's some liability. Who do you compensate? Artificial ecosystems. Well, we got indicators. We can store water, or we can tap springs, and or turn the springs into tap. So this concept, which I've opposed, is an idea when our lowland streams are fed by springs, that we can replace those springs, or if we draw out too much water, our streams drop. And so that affects our life in our streams. And one way, or one clever way, is to turn on a bore, pump up groundwater and put it in the stream. And that's effectively replacing our springs, which are very important to us. So not acceptable. And these schemes, the proposed plan is council will fund them. And that'll be taxpayer money. So we will fund them. We'll fund the demise of our streams and our springs. But we'll be educated, along with them being invited to FGCs. And we'll just promote biodiversity. That ignores some of the content behind it for us. Okay? And I want to promote biodiversity, but I'm not going to use it as a smoke screen for the reality that faces us. So what's needed? Put the awa first. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. That's been a clear message to us, and that's been a clear message we've given repeatedly. Put it first. Unfortunately, others interpret that in another way. And one of the most favourite sayings that irks me is hea te mea nui o te ao. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. The way that's interpreted is saying, put men first, put people first. I'm not going to say what the real meaning of that is or claim I'm an expert, but I think they got it wrong. Stronger water quality and quantity. This is how our waterways are managed, with limits, targets and standards, meaningful ones. This is what we've promoted. They're not strong enough. There's not enough sites to measure them, and us being involved meaningfully in the monitoring of them, resourced and involved in the monitoring of them. Western science is resourced and involved in monitoring and goes in state and environment reporting, and that's how it's managed. Our environment's managed, and what tells us what's going wrong and what's going right. We need our own monitoring mechanisms, so it gives us peace of mind. Kia ora, yeah. Tautoko Katarina, the Māori compass. There's many methods. So what's needed? No more paternal favours for tangata whenua. I just have to be direct. I've been involved for years, and we often get told, well, how many times I've been asked, help me understand, you know, help me from other stakeholders, help me understand the position of tangata whenua. And that's not going to happen in one meeting, two meetings. It didn't happen in 7 years. I truly see that as a code for, I have a better idea. That's the reality I've faced. They don't really want to understand. They want you to finish talking and tell you what the better idea is. No more tick boxes. We say this a lot, but what does that really mean? Because when you're amongst it, it's really hard. It's really hard because we're not in the 11th hour. It's the tick box exercise, which we all talk about. No more tick boxes. We're talking about experienced people in getting tick boxes. Lobbying. Māoris aren't really good at lobbying. We're good at getting lobbied. No more divide and conquer. It's simple. Now he's supposed to put my side up. No more Game of Thrones. I want to talk about representation in depth. No, I don't really. It's a distraction. It's a ho-ha. Unfortunately, It's sort of what we revert to. I think we spend too much of our time talking about who's the mana whenua, who's the tangata whenua, who's the person, who's the rep, who do we talk to? It's me, it's not you. As opposed to talking about the obligation as tangata whenua, as mana whenua, as kaitiaki, what does that mean? So we spend somewhere like 80% of our time talking about you're not talking to the right person, and we don't concentrate on the issue, on what we want, on what outcomes we want. We're fighting over a throne. You know what happened to Daenerys? So who's Tyrion? No. Next slide, please. So yeah, one more boring slide. So what have I learned? How's a step forward in terms of catchment management? So been through tank 6 years, more haka's coming up, and then in the Wairoa, I think they're in a better position because hopefully we've helped improve it. And I should acknowledge those who've been involved in tank. So I think 25, 27 tangata whenua participated in those stakeholder groups, came and gone, got burnt out, left, hoha, and who remained was myself, Mare Apatu, Te Kaha Waikirangi, Jeannie Major, Joella Brown, and Auntie Aki. So I'd like to acknowledge them. That was a sort of hard slog and painful. Management plans. So timing, plan of development. Councils, the Crown, they ask for engagement, they ask for your submission by a certain date. The planning cycle for catchment plans, they last 10 years, and then it comes back around and they look at it again. It doesn't work, it doesn't fit for us, but what do we do? What can we do? We can prepare, and that's what I'm suggesting, because it's going to come around again. It doesn't fit with us, it doesn't fit with our māramataka, it doesn't fit in so many ways, but unless we are more proactive and we bring forward our interests, our significant pūrākau about what's important to us, we're making it harder for us, unfortunately. We have to speak in their language. So I suggest that if you've got a, let's say like the Wairoa or the Mohaka, the mana whenua of those awa get together and determine what they want. And you have to use some professionals because you're wanting to change or influence the council's plan. And it sucks. We write down our plans and we talk about all the atua and everything, but how does that translate into theirs? And it doesn't happen. That's how it translates. They pick and choose. So we have to do it. We have to write what is it we want, a skeleton plan for these awa. So the Ngariroro, Tūtakuri, we had these values plans, we've got them, and it's a great start. It was a bit late in the piece, a bit rushed. We didn't get the karamu. Oh, there's also the ahuriri. The mohaka looks like in a good space. And hopefully the Wairoa. We have to say what we want, and we have to do it without stakeholders and influence. We have to do that, and I really mean that, because once you go into a discussion over a plan and you don't know what you want, you get told what you want. It's so hard to turn it around. You'll go in a discussion with people who know exactly what they want. In the tank discussion, the irrigators knew exactly what they wanted down to the litre. That's how detailed they are. Most of us didn't even know, what are they talking about, these minimum no flows and this, all the connections? They do. And they employ hydrologists. I'm not saying we have to employ hydrologists, but we have to work together and network and find our own. Oh, shit. We have to find our own expertise, and I think it's out there. And I hear the kōrero today, and we have solutions to some of the problems. We have to be involved in the discussion about the problem, not just pick one of our solutions. What do you like best? Because we know what's good for you. We've got to put a stop to that paternalism, and we have to come up with our own solutions. But they're there. Look at Quinton, who talked about hemp today. I mean, I think Jenny brought that up in our tank. Hey. I think Jenny brought that up in our tank discussions, but it just doesn't get taken seriously. And so I commend Tāmaki Nuarua for the efforts they're making. So once you've got your skeleton plan, then go to your treaty partner that we always talk about and we always talk disparagingly about. Go and negotiate with them. That's what Moana Jackson says, it's everything's negotiation, 50-50. So go and combine your plan, go and take your plan with them and sit with the Crown. Then see how much of your plan gets adopted. And then you can measure it. Oh, well, they've taken 20%. You do that before the stakeholders. They're not there. It's Crown and mana whenua. Then you have the rest of your plan that's not adopted. Still work on it. Still keep it there. Keep it up here. Don't throw it away. What has been asked is throw it away. Here's your plan now. You're with us. Assimilate. That's what happens. I'm not into assimilation. Yeah, so then once you've got that plan together, hold hands. Sing kumbaya. Go and present to the stakeholders. I'm serious. At the moment, council goes, holds hands and sings kumbaya with irrigators. We want to flip that. It's not going to happen overnight. And then there's a bit of kicking and screaming and a bit of late night emails, but it will happen because we're not going anywhere. So that's why I say keep your plans, keep your eye on the ball. 10 years, so it'll come back around. And, once we get all our rangatahi all educated and thing with the maramataka and go on all these wānanga, then they're in a better place and they don't have to go through the raruraru and the terrible lessons that we've gone through. And then, repeat. Okay, hopefully that boring slide's over. Okay, support. So what else we support with some of the research? It's like a plan B. We don't know enough about the aquifer, but we're going to manage it like that. Oh, that's terrible. So we want to know more. So we've buddied up Heratonga Taiwhenua on board with GNS, Geonuclear Science. They're the Crown Research Institute and got the hydrologists, and that's what we need to know. Oh, can you just go back one, please? Sorry. So we buddied up with them. It's a significant project. So we look like having a wānanga in August. Hope I'm not Taiwhenua organising, but the idea is, hope I'm not jumping the gun, but somewhere out in Bridge Park because they had issues. Sea level rise of research there with Dr. Richard Levy. He's presented here before. Effects of climate change because the sea's coming up a metre. Over here in Ahuriri, it's going down 30 centimetres within the next 100 years. They've been saying that for 20 years, so probably in the next 80 years. Braided rivers and groundwater recharge, how they modified our rivers and that's affected the water that used to recharge our aquifer, so maybe we've got less. And there's looking at the coastal erosion archaeologists. We support a number of researchers. Provincial Growth Fund, question mark. Also involved with the Hawke's Bay Marine Coastal Group, so Ollie came and presented from Regional Council here last year, research to find out solutions. So support Parakore and Tyne. She's been an awesome advocate and she made sure everything we use is disposable, compostable. We've done some reseeding. That was a few years ago. Paurere, Porongahau, and Waimarama. And that's the monitoring in Waimarama. Yep. I can't share with you the results. That's the property of the hapu of Waimarama. And that's how we roll. Next slide, please. And monitoring, this is the Wānanga Mare facilitated. This was an outcome of the Toki Board of Inquiry, where we challenged the management plan for the Toki. That cost us a lot of money, time, volunteers, marae, representatives, experts. It cost a lot. So we made them fund us, or fund the Taiwhenua for this Wānanga program, so getting the kids out there. Other innovations, so look, we just bought a big, well, we didn't buy a fishing fleet, but we're fishing, and we need to be more sustainable. I'm under no illusion that there's not challenges ahead for us. And we want our people out there manning those boats. So this is, we're supporting a young person, but this is actually the crew, like the deckhand certificate. So they've got the Māori there. Do the next slide. The skipper is the Pākehā. We're sponsoring a Māori to be a skipper, so maybe we'll change that. hopefully. But there's not much opportunities to be a skipper, but we're very grateful. Next slide. For me and my Cornish friend, Rick Birch. Oh, I've seen him here today. So he's taken this young Māori, there he is, down the back there. He's taken this young Māori fella under his wing and he's supporting him. And we're supporting him for his studies. And maybe one day he'll captain this waka. So this is our Gonford or Kiwa, this is the big boat. And this is what Jonathan was alluding to in terms of a bigger pātaka strategy on steroids. So, yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, there's a pātaka. That's the idea. We all know that. Next slide, please. Trees. That's another solution. Plant them. Yep. Kahutia. So Pa will talk a bit about that. And yeah, get out plant. Well, it's just a kaha planting, but no, that's not actually planting. That's something else. But everyone's watching you, bro. This is supporting wetland enhancement and development and supporting Ngāti Pāro, Koi Pātiki, Operation Pātiki Hapu. Waikahu, that's the area there. It's quite large, if not one of the largest, to bring back that mahinga kai, our species, to hopefully create some whitebait spawning grounds. So it's been a pleasure to support the whānau there, and I'd like to acknowledge Te Kaha because he's been a main driver of this, because that's been, if we just pause there, that's been on the cards for years and sort of probably just been stagnant, to be honest, until Te Kaha came along and, come and support this. So, and acknowledge Te Ohu Kaimoana and Dion's in the room here because they're helping resource this. Oh, go back. I'm not sure if they've even seen this picture. Te Wai Māori. Oh, one more back, please. Provided some funding to help this get off the ground. So, yes, I don't think maybe it wouldn't have got off the ground this year if it wasn't for their funding. So, kia ora. And supporting, like I said, Joella Brown and Hans Rock, whitebait. So very passionate about whitebait. Joella spoke here, the little eggs there. So Joella, I didn't ask if I could use the pictures, but I'm sure you're okay. So yeah, preserving those and getting the end. Yep, next slide. Oh, here's this picture. Well, I just want to acknowledge my employee, Shade Smith over here. He just started in December. O mai te paki. So need some help to deal with these issues. So Shade's hails from up north, Te Taitokero, Te Rarawa, Te Aupauri, and he employed him as our senior policy analyst. And he's very experienced in marine science and freshwater science. And we need all the help we can get. And there's one take-home message. It's about working together, but working together in earnest, because we need all the help. So, kia ora, tihei kahungunu.